Welcome to the freewheeling cavalcade of circular motion, thus defined by the octagon table of double-wide mental introspection and dedicated utilitarian outward thinking in defense of zero content. Translation: we ain't got nothing. Oh, hey folks, dude here yet again, an iteration of Dude After Dark, and yes, I actually am here for a change as soon as I get Binky to stop. Bink. Thank you. Too many modes of operation, as it were. Make sure that's shut up. So, old, new laptop. And for some reason, the tablet was being really strange. I had to jack around with a couple things, and I'm still not quite 100%. So hopefully the voice holds out, and I'll move out smartly. Yeah, a little bit of a shaving thing going on there. So hopefully stuff will be okay. Give me 1 second here. Kill that. It has all these stupid little pop-up things sometimes every once in a while, but just give me 1 second here. I commit it to you. Oh, yeah, let's just do that one for a start out. Lost one of the greats. I mean, wow. I mean, just such a phenomenal actor. What can you say, man? I mean, that's just one of those things where you basically have like those guys coming out from the ethers who are just phenomenal. I mean, Robert Duvall. I mean, what movie has not that guy been in that's not been like just ridiculously just like wow, like gobsmack stuff, Great Santini, obviously Godfather, what was it like the movie The Lions, I forget what that one is, has Haley Joel Osment in it, where he plays like some old war veteran that's basically showing the kids, don't act like douchebags, or I'm gonna hand you your A. I'm gonna hand you your A. Yeah. Good stuff like that there. So anyway, I don't know if they just had like a reboot on YouTube or something, but it's being a little wonky. So hopefully it's working okay. Maybe I have like a server glitch or something. I don't know. It's being really strange. Like literally try to look at my own stuff. Literally trying to look at my own stuff. Hopefully everything's kind of working. I'm now going to look at the live side. I know I have myself silenced, and I see a couple of people are here, so that's always good. Now looking at the larger format of the chat room. Now the thing about it is working off the new mega tablet as opposed to the older, still much beloved S2. I mean, this little guy still kicks major tail feathers. It's just a great little unit. It's been, if nothing else, dead on freaking reliable. The newer ones seem to have way too many little whiz bang kind of foofy things popping up. But anyway, get back to the subject of the art. I would ask you please to lift your glass, and as we commend those people passed before us, to absent companions, Robert Duvall, sir, thank you for all those kind efforts you did in your acting profession. Gave us a lot of joy, and truly, we did enjoy your work. To absent companions. Anyway, see some people in the room. Got Patriot Fever, got Martina Sasquatch. You guys are having a good one. Have signal, and the audio is kind of fuzzy. Okay, I did do a system check earlier, and I'm not using my standard microphone. I'm using another setup. So hopefully it's not too, yeah, it's not too like one of those kind of just, thanks, sound guy. No, we don't want that one, okay? We're trying to avoid. Yes, we're trying to avoid. Okay, I wouldn't have expressed it just like that, but yes, we're trying to avoid that. I gotta live with this guy, okay? You guys don't know what it's like daily living with sound guy. Sound guy.
We told you.
We told you.
We told you, caca. Okay, sound guy. Stop. Okay, literally what this is like a Second Avenue cheapest microphone I could find, and for some reason, it seems to be playing okay with the dongle. I am going to have to kind of figure things out because, like I said in the description of this video, Mrs. Dude and I are going to have some days to have like a couple trip. I don't know if that's something that we kind of like, made like a tradition now, but there's like things we try to basically take a trip on February. Why? Both of our birthdays occur in February. So it kind of goes by just general thinking that we're simply just going to take something on our birthdays. Okay, Mrs. Dude's birthday's already passed, okay? Mine is coming. Oh, stop that. No, I'm not that far gone. I am not that far gone. He's making it sound like
fatality.
Dude, I'm not that old, okay? Sound guy. Sound guy. Okay, I'm not that far gone, okay? Not at all. Half the time I'm just got my finger over the stop button. You don't want to know how many sound effects he's throwing out there that I am just how many sound effects I am stopping. He goes through the fart catalog, and I am telling you.
Oh, man, I shot Marvin in the face. What? Did you do that? I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident.
You dick.
Okay, I don't know why he keeps pulling these pieces out of movies. No. He keeps pulling these pieces out of movies and then making them just, you don't want it.
Enough is enough. I have had it with these mother on this mother plane. Everybody strap in. I'm about to open some windows.
Cats on a plane. Fart on Marvin. Cats. Mother 2, appreciate you coming by. Living for Jesus, Mother 2. You're now, I guess, a frequent attendee of the podcast. I do appreciate your kind attentions. Good stuff like that there. Coming in 5x5 for Patriot. Martina Sasquatch, potentially what I could say might actually work in your favor is maybe watch it on the viewer on the live side of my channel on YouTube. I don't know if it's going to be like a streaming thing or if it's going to change up anything. I would say do not use the YouTube app. I just don't I don't use the Facebook app. I don't use the YouTube app. On my phone, I use the YouTube app only because it's kind of a shortcut. But that's also on an Android device. That's actually not trying to do something like monitoring afterwards. Most of the time I try to do something, I'm just I'm using a Windows computer. So that's how that one works. So excuse me 1 second here. So anyway, you're probably wondering what's the trip going to be comprising. Do I now have to say I'm not going to talk about sound guy? No, I can talk about sound guy. It isn't. No, it's not censored. Okay, we don't have to cut out anything. Sound guy. Now you don't get a chime for that one, okay? That was weak sauce, man. No. The Kamala movie file. Yes. Yeah, you just gotta watch out for that one. That's gonna be him just doing things that are just
yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay, dickhead. You don't get a ding, okay? Oh, you're encouraging them. Their Patriot fever. You know. Um. Actually, Martinez Sasquatch says he's running and rocking an S25 Plus. That's actually a really capable device, dude. It's actually a very capable device. I would tend to think possibly it might be Wi-Fi versus 4G, 5G. Usually what tends to happen is if you run the Wi-Fi and the 4 or 5G at the same time, it'll choose and pick which way the bit stream is actually working better. So I don't know if it's that, but I can tell you for a fact, it did sound when I did a test video earlier and I ran this volume level, it seemed to have the best of all the worlds, best of all worlds, best of both worlds, whatever. Okay. It was working. So anyway, way, shape, and form, Mrs. Dude and I pretend to take a February trip. Now, I could probably, charitably show you guys what I came up with. So I'm not going to show you that. But last time we took a cruise. Let's see here. Yeah, I can do that. Took a cruise on an MSC boat. MSC stands for Mediterranean Shipping Corporation. The wife was like, I'd like to have a cruise ship, honey. And the husband goes, oh, okay, dear. And they set up the cruise line. Now, also conversely, I've also taken two Royal Caribbean cruises recently. Once was on the Oasis of the Sea and once was on the Allure of the Sea. So that's like before their newest, biggest boats. So that was in the realm of things that was like, their earlier, older stuff. But they were still big boats. I mean, they're not small. I mean, you're talking like 5,000-6,000 people on board. So it's not a bitty boat. I mean, full capacity on this thing is like 6,200. And I think the newest Icon of the Seas and Star of the Seas is like 72 or 7,800 people or something like that. It's got a crew of like 2,600. So you're talking 10,000 people on the same boat. Now, the boats that I was on was closing in on that. I mean, there was like 9,000 plus people on the same boat. So it's literally like a small town. So the boat that we took last time, that was last February, left out of Brooklyn, and it was the MSC Meraviglia. So that's Italian for vision. Like you're looking for... You're not looking for douchebags. Sound guy. No, you're not looking for... You're not looking for... God. You're not looking for that either. Jeez. You might actually just be looking for... Snoop. Okay, yes, you probably would be looking for... Snoop. Yes, you'd be looking for Snoop. But if you're with your wife, you probably got the Snoop situation handled nicely, okay? You're not worried about... Death! No. No, I'm tending to think Mrs. Dude would not be looking for wee. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. So anyway, yeah, Mrs. Dude is probably not looking for oh.
You're in the jailhouse now.
Okay, she's not looking for jailhouse Snoop. Okay, I can tell you that one for a fact. And if I did try something like that,
you're despicable.
Yeah, you would probably not get Snoop for a while if you tried to slip in some wee. And she wasn't really like needing, wanting, or saying, you know what, I really could use some wee right about now. Yeah, that would. That's not going to be. No, stop. That's not going to be high on the list. If you said, "Hey, honey, we're going to have some romance," and you pulled out the Snoop, yeah,
you're despicable.
Yeah, safe to say she would not be, let's just say, responsive to your request. That's keeping it about as G-rated as I can make it. Wow. Anyway, so last time we left out of Brooklyn, mind you. So New York City, I'm from the Bronx, so it's just, next borough up. Very simple, very easy. Where that placed us was, if you look at the scale of things, there's obviously the rivers running on either side of Manhattan Island. Obviously, you got, on your right, my left, whatever. So basically, you have New Jersey on the left. Okay, I'm going backwards here and being very dyslexic. So New Jersey on the left, which would be the West Bank. That's going to be the Jersey Shore. And as you come out a little ways, obviously you're down south of Manhattan a ways. Not too far offshore on the New Jersey side is the Statue of Liberty. It's kind of one of those unspoken things where New Jersey is like, hey, here, take the statue. We'll even give you your own zip code. All right, here you go. Hey, have fun. So technically, the Statue of Liberty, while it is stated as being in New York, it is actually geographically in New Jersey, even though they say it's New York. So where we were on the boat, we were actually on a cabin, roughly about amidships. And if you look at this boat, there's actually like these kind of cut-ins. And where the cut-ins are, so they don't stick out the side of the boat and make the boat wider, it's the lifeboats. So the lifeboats are actually inset in a little ways over, like, kind of like almost like a footpath kind of thing. I think it was deck 5 or 6, I forget which. So the lifeboats are inset. In that scallop was where we were. So maybe like about a little better than halfway back on the boat. Port side, mind you, was the balcony where we were. Well, the ship was parked starboard side to the dock and port side facing out. So essentially, we were looking across and there was Governor's Island, Ellis Island, and then down south a little ways was the Statue of Liberty. Probably about 1.5 miles, not quite 2 miles away. Well, Mrs. Dude has got an S24 Ultra. And Squatch, I can tell you for a fact, the camera set on these, higher 20s, dang, that thing is just redonkulous. So using that camera, we cranked in the camera view, and I was getting like pictures of the face of the Statue of Liberty from about 1.5 miles, not quite 2 miles away. Now, the thing about it is obviously you're driving up and down the Jersey Turnpike, you're west of the Statue of Liberty. You're looking at her back. You're not seeing the face of the Statue of Liberty. The only way you see the face is obviously if you're in Brooklyn or you're someplace around Long Island, like, real close to the shore, you can see the face. Obviously, if you're on Manhattan, you're north of ways and you're kind of looking down at an angle southwest to the face of the Statue of Liberty. So you're looking at the left front corner of her face. Where we were maybe about like 30, 40 degrees off a square. And obviously, we're going out beyond that and then going out underneath the, I forget which bridge it is, but it's one of the high bridges around there. So anyway, we were getting pictures of the Statue of Liberty before the boat rolled out. So that was kind of cool. That was really kind of cool. Obviously, that boat rolled out, went south. We went to Port Canaveral where they resupply because New York City costs a lot for groceries. So they resupply in Florida. Then what they did was they went down, hit their island, and then they hit Nassau and then made their way back to New York City. So this time we're not leaving off the East Coast. This time we're actually leaving off of Newport, mostly because both of us were like, hey, we've never been there before. One of the stops we actually been to before, and it was Cozumel. The other two stops we have not been to before. One of them is Costa Maya, still in Mexico. The other one is Royatan in Honduras. So this one that we're going to be taking is going to be yet another MSC boat. I believe this one is the Seascape. Hang on a second here. I got to keep myself honest. I'm actually going to cheat here and look at the app. If you have the app for any cruise line, it makes things just so much easier. Yeah, it's going to be MSC Seascape. Now, the departure on this one is going to be unusual for us. I'm dropping crap everywhere. It's unusual for us And also, it is a place where neither of us have ever been. So we decided, interesting. We've never been to this cruise terminal. Hell, we've never been to this state. So this cruise is going to start and end in, of all places, Galveston, Texas. So that sounds like an opportunity for me to obviously obtain some barbecue. And obviously, we are going to hit a Buc-ee's store. Believe that. We will be hitting the Buc-ee's store. Because I'll be rolling around with, numerous phones and what have you. And I'll actually be able to, do like, actual internet type stuff. I'll probably upload a video of me walking around, my impressions of Buc-ee's, and do an upload on a video in that one. Internet is going to be kind of on the boat, and the internet packages on board, ouch. And I do mean like federally mandated, ouch. Like they basically say, sure, buddy, we'll be glad to sell you some really, really good internet service, but you'll just hear, yeah, you're just going to get it bad. And I do mean, like, for a week's worth of internet service to get okay, and I do mean like only okay service, it's like the better part of like $500 for two people. It's like, no, not at all. No, not doing that. We'll get the basic stuff. And if I remember right, the last time the basic stuff was kind of like good enough to like check on your email, log on to Facebook, really couldn't stream video per se, but it was enough to kind of sort of stay in touch. Mrs. Dude actually was, able to make like Facebook Messenger phone conversations with people to check in with them and say, hey, here's how things are going, blah, 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 blah. Of course, do her usual, staying in contact with the family members, obviously, house oriented stuff for, my niece, are things okay at home, blah, blah, blah. Do you need XYZ? You need orders for this, because you still could do some stuff on the internet, but it was not like, spiffy, amazing, like, 5G coverage. And that'd be very, very generous to say that at the very least. Supposedly their boats are now getting Starlink. Will that trickle down to, better internet? I don't think so. However, somebody, and I'm not even remarking on like what the guy's name was, because he's known. If you look him up, you'll find this jagoff. But what this guy did was he had a Starlink unit. Now, if you've ever seen the Starlink actual units themselves, it's roughly about the size of like a loose leaf notebook. You basically take the thing, you kind of plop it down. I don't even know if you have to really aim the antenna, but you put it down and it basically looks around and goes, there's a satellite. Hi. And the satellite goes, hey, how you doing? It's like, I'm trying to get internet service. And then, of course, they start conversing. In the process of doing that, you then get really decent internet coverage. I don't know if I would state it's about the same thing as like hooked up to something on land, but I have heard it's decent, or it's decent enough. So what this guy was doing was he was on a Royal Caribbean boat. Oh, let's just leave that one for a second here. Now, Royal Caribbean obviously is trying to sell you their internet service. What did this guy do? Well, he went upstairs, took the Starlink unit, and went boop, plopped it down somewhere, and it said, I got a satellite. You got a signal. And the guy was like, oh, cool, sweet. What did he do? He was live streaming video on the boat as the boat was like cooking along, doing its various things. Of course, there's probably like the outside party going on, and this guy's like, hey, I'm outside. This is so great. Yeah. Well, somebody on the boat was either subscribed to this guy or found out about the live stream and was like, hey, no, not cool. No, you're using your own internet versus our internet. Not cool. So needless to say, they came upstairs and they found a guy doing his, hey, how you doing there? They shut him down, confiscated his Starlink, completely took him off the internet and said, buddy, you're done. If you want internet, you can buy internet, but you can't use this for internet. Now, previously, people that hadn't so been so completely just, hey, look at me, see what I'm doing. Starlink was allowed, and it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, yeah, okay, well, don't get too carried away with it and use it in your cabin. We don't care, kind of a thing. That guy did it outside, and they were like, yeah, they lit onto him, and yeah, big time. I think the biggest thing was that guy was outside and was like doing his little thing, and somebody looked over and saw it. Yeah. Okay. I don't know about ding, but yeah, it was definitely dickhead. So anyway, that guy got snagged. His online device was confiscated. And now if you try to bring them on board, they're taken. They're held on a secure area where you can't Starlink because obviously your Starlink is powered down and it's in a little secured room. Same thing as when people try to bring booze on board or to try to bring other, don't bring it's, obviously knives or, outside alcohol or stuff like that. You're just not going to pass muster, okay? The first thing you do is obviously you present your little card, after you've gotten on the boat. And they say, okay, we're going to x-ray all your stuff. All your stuff goes through an x-ray machine, just like on the airport. So it might have flown, but it's not going to get on the boat, and they will not allow you to bring it on board. Why? Because it is now considered something that they're not going to make any money on, and you are verboten from bringing it on board. So that guy kind of screwed it up for everybody, where you used to have your own internet service, and now you can no longer do this. Thank you ever so much, Mr. I need to stream and look like a jagoff in public guy. Yipes. Anyway, so that's where we are with that one. So we'll be doing that little spiffy occasion, and Mrs. Dude and I will be obviously, taking the trip and coming back. But in the interim, I will be out of country on Tuesday, so that ain't happening. Not to say there won't be somebody at my house, but I won't be there. So, and even burglar type guys, don't try it. Okay, I got a big honking dog, and obviously, the other family members will be here. Okay, the house won't be deserted. Let's see. Scrolly. I don't know if I talked about this last gig that last podcast that I had, but the whole Artemis thing. Oh my God. Okay. If you look at the way that spacecraft are run, first they started out using liquid oxygen and kerosene. It kind of worked. I mean, it was all right. Made a lot of smoke. It was kind of really messy. Didn't really make as much power as they would have liked. Then they transitioned over to running the rockets on liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. Now, ecologically speaking, that's good stuff. I mean, you basically, air quotes, air quotes. If you air quotes burn hydrogen, all you're doing is you're recombining the oxygen and the hydrogen, and you're basically making water vapor. So all you're really doing is you're pooping out a whole bunch of clouds out the back of the rocket ship as it's going up and going to orbit. All good stuff. Now, Elon Musk and SpaceX, they said, okay, well, there's a happy medium between kerosene and hydrogen. If you know anything about hydrogen, it is obviously a very small molecule. It's like, in the periodic table, I think it's number 2. I think it's like helium then hydrogen. So it's a really small, squeaky molecule. It always tries to get out of the smallest cracks it possibly can. And besides being a pain in the butt to hang on to, it's trying to recombine with the stuff in the air to make itself back into water again. It is 1, outrageously flammable. 2, extremely hard to maintain. 3, you have to have it in a cold, seriously cold environment, 273 degrees Celsius below zero, or 426, I think it is, 426 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. Now, if you guys remember your science class, the biggest thing going on with hydrogen is how unbelievably cold it needs to be in a liquid/slush state. Remember, I said 426, 429 degrees. I think it's 426. So 426 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Absolute zero, or the coldest temperature that is obtainable by modern physics, mind you, unless you're talking like some aliens, Star Trek kind of stuff, is 460 degrees. That is literally when pretty much atoms just kind of go and slow down to such a slow amount of energy utilization that you almost can see them spinning. Now, the thing about it is trying to maintain hydrogen in cold, liquid, pressurized state. It's going to do, obviously, evaporation, liquefaction is going to become more gaseous. Well, if you've ever looked on the NASA launch sites, they have these pipes leading out. And you can see this on any of the videos or any of the launch areas, but there's these pipes leading out. The pipes lead out and they terminate a good ways away from the launch area, and you see these huge flames jetting out. So what happened is NASA decided a long time ago, letting hydrogen loose is just dangerous. Getting hydrogen, pumping it out to a safe area, and then burning it, letting it recombine back into water vapor is just safer for anybody involved. Now, obviously, the pipes are set up in such a way that it can't back up, and obviously, it's a very rich fuel stream, so it won't back up anyway because there's no air. Translation, there's no oxygen back there, or there's not enough oxygen back there to support a fire. So that's literally why you could basically have a hose blowing gas, light the end, and it's just going to basically just keep woofing off, and it's not going to back up to the gas tank because it's physically impossible. Now, the thing about it is also like the thinking in SpaceX was, okay, kerosene is really, really messy. It's really, really dirty. Methane. What happens if we burn methane? Well, if you look at the numbers, methane is like pretty close to the burn rate of hydrogen. And also it has some secondary characteristics that they can use to actually cool the rocket as it's getting ready to do its thing, coming back into orbit, making a landing. Obviously, in the process of doing that, you can use that heat and not waste that heat, but you can turn liquid fuel into gaseous fuel before you burn it, thus gaining some efficiency and obviously keeping the people from getting cooked interiorly. They're basically getting nice and chill because the fuel is keeping them cool. Kind of good thinking. I mean, you actually do the research on it. They kind of really thought this one through. I mean, obviously, big stainless steel spaceship and all the rest of that stuff. So anyway, Artemis, they did what's called a dry ground test. They literally took the tanks and they're like, okay, let's fill it up, dumped it full of hydrogen, and they're like, yeah, what do you know? No. They discovered it was leaking in all kinds of places that never should have been leaking. And they're like, okay, this is not going to work. The other thing they discovered is one of the processes that they use for the doors on the spacecraft, read the capsule. Did they go with something mechanical or something electronic or kind of like that classic aircraft thing where you have something that's hydraulic, something that's electric, and because you want to have complete and total redundancy, something that's mechanical? No. What they did on Artemis was they said the door closes, boop. Hey, we need to lock the door. There's a tank of compressed, I guess, air. They'd probably use something neutral. I would say maybe nitrogen or something. But anyway, what they do is they use a compressed tank of air to run these cylinders that then go ka-chunk and lock the door. Slight problem. It didn't work right. So you now have something that doesn't work on the ground, and you're going, dude, this thing's ready to go around the moon 10 times and come back home. No. So I remember a previous podcast where I was ragging on NASA. I still rag on NASA because there's a lot of times they do an execution and it is just not the best execution. I don't care what anybody says. NASA sometimes is just not ready for prime time. This might just be just another occasion where they have really, truly just, how do I say this? They screwed the pooch. So anyway, the Launch Abort System, or the LAS, hatch. Somehow, controversially designed to use pneumatic air pressure system to operate the latches as opposed to a mechanical system, it appears it failed at some point during the launch preparations for Artemis 2. The normal operation of the hatch for crew entering the Orion spacecraft involves the ground crew pressing a button and turning a manual release handle. This actuates the pneumatic system to retract the latches and allow the ground team to pull open the hatch. The hatch doesn't open. Big problem. Big problem. The Orion side hatch can then be opened with a ground release handle. Speculation is the air-powered system was leaking the air out during the wet dress rehearsal. Translation: no air, no opening. How do you open the door when there's no way to make the thing go ka-chick? Yeah. At the very least, they need to put a manual system on this thing. Something. I mean, basically like an access door, pop it open, put a crank in there, make the thing unlock. Kind of like what they do on some aircraft where if it doesn't drop the landing gear, there's a secondary means to drop the landing gear. Failing that, you get somebody down and don't go down their door. You get down in don't go down their door, and there's a manual release. You pull, and the thing will drop under gravity and lock. This is really, really shoddy workmanship. And they're thinking, oh, this thing's ready to go circling the moon. Here you go, guys. Have a good trip. Not confident in this one at all. If they can't get the door right, oh my stars and garters, there's so many other things that can go completely wrong. It is ridiculous. Case in point, when the space shuttle was flying, which was literally one of the most complex things mankind has ever constructed, if it was working at 99.9999999% efficiency, there was still 1 million things that could go wrong. Wow. And that's using 1970s technology where they literally just like almost welded the circuit boards together. Yipes. Let's see. Scroll. I got a lot of memes. Scrolly. I don't think I saw the numbers, but that TP USA, Turning Point USA show was beyond huge. Let's give it a second here. Nose bugged me. Beyond huge. And, they keep going on and on about, well, the NFL still had a lot of people watching it on normal broadcast and this, that, and the other thing. Okay. The numbers quoted on YouTube was the third largest downstream, upstream streaming event, call what you will, because it absolutely was redonkulous to see all these people watching this thing as opposed to the choice. I'm trying to be kind here, but the whole choice. Stop. It's not that kind of stream. Jeez. It's not that kind of stream. Stop. I'm glad that was low volume, okay? Stop. So anyway, they were saying, actually, the other thing, too, was also the re-watching of the Turning Point halftime show is ridiculous. And also, it wasn't just on YouTube. It was on a whole bunch of streaming platforms. It wasn't just in one place. And cautious, secondarily, just, let's just kind of, just collaterally look at the numbers. It was upwards of 40 million people. That's like a 30 audience, at least a 30 audience. And I can say for a fact, a lot of people that were actually at the game were like, oh, hell no. And they were literally like, let's go to the bar and get something to drink. And they were walking away from their seats, just not even paying attention to, naughty bunny, rabbit, whatever, dancing around doing his foo-foo thing. Supposedly, I've heard additionally that there is now the guys in the FCC going, well, it was in Spanish. We don't think it was that naughty. Some of the, the lyrics actually weren't changed. It's like, dude, no, he was cursing like a sailor, being really, really naughty. You guys are letting him slide. So I'm thinking, hopefully, somebody basically grabs the FCC by, by the, by the ding, grabs them by the ding and says, no, you really just, okay, Bunny needed a little bit of, Bunny needed some bite. Yeah, Bunny needed some bite. Stop with the death rattle. Jeez. Anyway, so supposedly the FCC is not going to do anything about naughty rabbit doing his thing, and
You're despicable.
I would tend to agree. However, doing something completely in a not primary language of the country which you're performing it kind of really truly doesn't inspire confidence in the NFL. And I have heard some people saying, it was like the biggest FU to the viewing public that the NFL could have generated. I was like, dude, well, that's kind of truthful. Let's see. Scrolly. This one I thought was beyond hilarious. This one is one of those dumb people playing games and not reading the room. So, Minnesota resident Nicole Cleland had her global entry and TSA pre-check privileges revoked 3 days after an incident in which she observed activity by immigration agents. The woman said in a court declaration, the agent told Cleland he used facial recognition technology to identify her. She wrote in a declaration filed in the U.S. District Court, the District of Minnesota. Excuse me, got work popping up. Cleland, a 56-year-old resident of Richfield and director at Target, volunteers with a group that tracks potential immigration and customs officials and Customs and Border Protection vehicles in her neighborhood, according to the declaration. On the morning of January 10, she observed a white Dodge Ram being driven by what I believe to be federal enforcement agents and maneuvered behind the vehicle with the intent of observing the action of the agents. Yeah. Said she and another observer in a different car followed the Dodge Ram because of concern about a local apartment building being raided. That's not your job, lady. Let's see. She followed the car for a short time from a safe distance until the Dodge Ram stopped in front of the other commuter vehicle. Said two other vehicles, apparently driven by federal agents, stopped in front of the Dodge Ram, and her path forward was blocked. An agent exited the vehicle and approached my vehicle. I remained in my vehicle. The agent addressed me by my name and informed me that a facial recognition and his camera was recording. The agent stated he worked for Border Patrol, wore full camouflage fatigues. The agent stated I was impeding their work. Indicated it was giving me a verbal warning, and if I was found to be impeding again, I would be arrested. Well, she acknowledged she heard what the agent said, and they drove off in opposite directions, according to her declaration. Cleland submitted on declaration on January 21 a lawsuit filed by the Minnesota residents against U.S. government officials by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Cleland's court filing was mentioned yesterday in the Boston Globe column about tactics used by ICE agents to intimidate protesters. Okay, if you're following them around, if you're documenting their very movement, you are impeding their investigation. That's not protesting, okay? That's hit stirring. So global entry and pre-check were revoked. Cleland said she could discern the reason why the agents stopped me other than the fact I was following them. I'm sorry, if you're following cops around, they might say, hey, why are you following me? They're basically federal agents. They're cops, okay? You're following them around. They're going to say, hey, why are you following me? Same reason why somebody else would say, hey, why are you following me? I got to break off for 1 second here. Living for Jesus, mother of two. Why is there a grown man calling himself Bad Bunny? Because I'm sure the name in Spanish probably means something more than it does in English. In English, he just sounds like a foo-foo guy. In Spanish, it probably sounds like he's tough or something. I don't know. But I can tell you for a fact, there's probably not a whole hell of a lot of Bad Bunnies in Puerto Rico. A lot of frogs, but there's not a lot of bad bunnies. Let's see. Logged into the global exam site, and my notification letter indicated that indeed my status had been revoked and can't always disclose the reason. It was disclosed because you were harassing federal agents, you dumb. I really want to say something else here, but you can insert the proper words, but let's just say you're playing stupid games, you're winning stupid prizes. You're definitely FIFOing correctly. Wow. I tend to think that that's the slap on the wrist. You really, truly don't understand how much worse it could have been for you. This one I find to be very, very interesting. So supposedly Israel did not commit quote unquote genocide, and the Palestinians are even admitting it. So coming in from a person by the name of Ayal Yacobi, he got the blue check, so he's obviously somebody notable. Well, that ends the debate on the deaths in Gaza. Hamas itself is admitting that 80% of the casualties were combatants. It was never a genocide. You've been lied to and manipulated. So Hamas admits the scale of losses. Hamas says it will pay stipends to around 50,000 to widows of fighters killed in by the IDF in the war it initiated. By its own admission, this suggests that up to 80% of Gaza's dead were terrorist combatants, not civilians. Well, never mind the fact that they also tend to park themselves in groups of people and go, oh, well, you can't hit us because we're around all these, innocent people. Okay, you're a bunch of cowardly, whiny, I really want to say more, but cowardly whiners who park yourself in groups of people saying, nope, you can't take us out because there's a bunch of other people you got to take out at the same time. That's why they put themselves in schools, hospitals, and mosques. Let's see. Scrolly. I really, truly don't want to read, the naughty rabbit, lyrics, but let's just say they're out there if you want to find the actual what he said in Spanish to what it is in English and where it actually means and what it means. Yeah, let's just say it is all manner of let's just say it's all manner of well, snoo. Yeah, it's all manner of snoo. That's just keeping it polite. It is all manner of snoo. Probably including, it's probably including some wee. Yeah, all manner of snoo. Yeah, all. Let's just say it's possibly not even marital snoo, but really, really dirty street snoo. let's just keep it that way. That way, it's really, really G-rated. It's dirty street snoo. Dirty Street Snoo. Yeah, that you know what? That could be his new rap name. Dirty Street Snoo. I cannot begin to tell you how much this has been cracking me up to see these occurrences taking place, but there's now agent provocateurs, and I do mean those people who are not like, the protesters against like ICE and, all the other, federal officers doing their things and what have you. I cannot do this justice. This one is truly beginning to crack me up in levels, depths, and breadths I cannot even get into. But, let's just say it is very unusual when you see like skids, and I do mean like actually like a pallet of stuff being delivered where there's going to be a protest. And in these protest pallets of yummies, shall we say, there's all kinds of first aid stuff, means of dealing with being pepper sprayed, obviously comfort items, and obviously food. Well, these agent provocateurs for the agent provocateurs has said, you know what? There's no sign saying we can't take these things. So now they're going in and they're cleaning out the containers that are being left behind for all the protesters for them to have, comfort items and yummies. And these guys are going, nobody said we can't take it. So they're going in and they're cleaning out the containers that have been set aside for the protesters for their aid, comfort, and hunger pangs. To me, that is absolutely bloody hilarious. And I cannot commend them highly enough for all their actions. Guys, I would say justifiably, take all you can carry. Because everything that you take off their pile means something that somebody goes, hey, I was looking for a blah, blah, blah. There's no more. Now, even better is if you eat the blah, 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 and you leave the empty packages behind. That is like absolute master strokes. And I would hope dearly that these guys are doing that, where you have the mass eat in. Like a whole bunch of people come in and they just locust the pile, leave a whole bunch of empty packages all over the place in the container, and just roll out. That to me is justifiably the best medicine possible. Is these guys going, I was looking for some yummies and there isn't any. That to me is absolutely justifiable, completely legit. Dirty pool on the dirty poolers themselves. Have at it. Scrolly. This one, I cannot do this justice. This one had me in tears. So there's pictures on the internet, on interwebs as it were, that are going viral for this one girl popping on the headphones and blasting and watching the TP USA show in the middle of the Naughty Bunny show at the Super Bowl. Hilarious. She's like, I'm not watching this crap. I'm going to watch something I really want to see. So she's like jamming out on the TP USA as opposed to watching Naughty Bunny doing his things. Let's see. Scrolly. This one on the technological side, this is kind of striking. And I didn't think somebody was going to go this way of doing things, but this is coming out really to be a major issue now. Because they're building all the data processing areas and all these nodes for all the AI, they've been buying scads of storage technology. Obviously, hard drives, obviously, RAM cards, those things that you put in the laptop or into the computer to give it some ability to have some buffer before it goes between the operating system and actually goes between the computer. It gives it some buffer area. It is the RAM, so the random access memory. Excuse me. The constantly able to be regurgitated and gurgled and gobbled around and played with and all the rest of that fun stuff. But it's gotten so bad for the sourcing now, and the price has gotten so high for RAM cards that people are outright thieving them. It's gotten so bad now that actually Costco is having to remove the RAM units from the display computers due to people going, oh, boop, pop off the cover, reach in, pop out the RAM cards, pop the cover back on, and roll. So people are going into stores now, and they're literally stealing the RAM cards from display computers. Wow. Martina Sasquatch, I would avoid the slop that's handed out to those doors. Well, actually, there's sealed packages, dude. Like, basically like, packages of like cookies and, other forms of like, just like handy items. And it's all sealed packages. It's not like actually like basically like trays of food. If it is trays of food, well, that's kind of easy to fix too. It's like, oh, look, I got this bottle of Ipecac. Stir in a bottle of Ipecac, add some extra spice. I would be doing that one. That because not harmful, but definitely obnoxious. So yeah, Costco, and I'm sure the other big box stores now are really, really starting to get really, afraid of that. It's not a hard thing to steal a RAM out of a display computer. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to pop those little side covers off, and that's nothing. So hopefully, it gets to some semblance of normalcy when obviously all these, data processing areas finally get built. But right now it is in such an amount of complete and total just ridiculous build process that these guys they're data mining. They're not coal mining. Sound guy, Sound guy. I'm gonna have to put a stop to this. Yeah, data mining, not coal. Never mind. Anyway, so we're also talking AI. So it takes a lot of processing power. Obviously, it takes a lot of power. It takes a lot of water. It takes a lot of resources. So these data processing areas really, truly can suck up a lot of resources that most times was pretty much easy to obtain in the first place. I mean, you can go anywhere and get these RAM cards. It's just, how much they cost and what size did you need. Now, they're kind of scarce. Ish. Just ish. Let's see. Scrolly. I don't know if you heard about this one or not, but supposedly the Mexican cartels, and I don't know who was the genius that came up with this one. This is phenomenally asking for FAFO like you don't want to know. This is extreme FAFO. So the cartels have been using drones to deliver stuff, let's just say powdery substances and other recreational items for people to obtain, okay? Try to keep it, generic here so YouTube doesn't go, hey, you're talking about something that we're, whatever. Anyway, so let's just say powdery substances that people have for recreational purposes, okay? We're all on board now? Right. So stuff that people use for recreational purposes. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So anyway, the cartels have been using drones and they're violating the U.S. airspace in the process. So, in response, the Pentagon took measures to neutralize the drones. The NOTAM was issued, which is basically like the no-flight areas. And people are like, well, they're just shooting down party balloons. They're not just shooting down party balloons, guys, okay? So there's also reports of preparations underway for a very large operation against the Mexican drug cartel, in which the military aviation, read hundreds of helicopters, is expected to participate. Cartel guys, you think that you're going to be playing games with some drones. You've never faced down a U.S. attack helicopter. Trust me, the stuff that they were doing overseas against the Afghanis and the other areas was merely practice. They are very, very good at that which they do with those devices. You have asked for FAFO like you don't want to know. Believe that. Let's see. Scrolly. They pulled that one. I'm not surprised they pulled that one. Let's see. Scrolly. The SAVE Act. Hopefully, we can get some Democrats to go, okay, I'm really afraid of losing my job here because people are seeing this for what it is. 86% in some instances, in some of the polls, for people that are saying you should have a ID to vote. Democrats, if you're smart, and I do mean not like, snarky, playing the little, the Republicans are the problem. If you were smart, you would see the writing on the wall and go, oh, snap, if I don't vote for this, it's my tukas. It literally can be your buttocks. Scrolly. If you guys saw, obviously there's the company that was making all the the shooty goodies called Anderson. That company folded. I believe it was just something financial. They ran into hard times, or just situationally they outstripped their ability to maintain a marketplace because obviously there's saturation points. Well, obviously the shooty stuff with the black rifles, that company folded, so Anderson folded. And the thing about it is somebody with large pockets and good amounts of ability to subsume other companies. They bought Marlin. Ruger now owns all the equipment, all the manufacturing areas, and obviously the manpower that was formerly Anderson, and it is now being made under the Ruger nameplate, and they are now calling it the Harrier. So essentially like the same thing that was like, the hover jet that was been around for a while. So it's named the Harrier. So if you look up those, formerly Anderson, now Harrier, it is under the Ruger nameplate or under the Ruger parentage for, firearms companies. So if you're looking for a poverty pony, which was the running joke on those guys, because the Anderson logo was a horse head. Let's see. Scrolly. Don't want to get into that one. Don't want to get into that. Oh. I don't know if you guys heard about this one or not. This is phenomenal news. Anybody that's ever been Rick-rolled, I absolutely, and I said on Facebook, I hate this song. Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, official on YouTube. This video is no longer available because the YouTube account associated with the video has been terminated. Goodbye. Just goodbye. Done with you. So, how many views did that song actually ever get? I'm sure he made more money off of YouTube than he ever made off that album. 1 billion. Oh, or is it trillion? I think it's trillion. 1,741,265. Or is it billion? It is billion. 1,741,265,727 views. You want to talk about the earworm that you can never truly get rid of? That's that song. My Lord. Yeesh. Let's see. Scroll. I don't know if you guys heard about this one. This one kind of tickled me more than a little bit. Looking at the time period we're looking at, I'm pretty much closing on my 1 hour mark. But I did want to get into this one. This is yet again another electric vehicle. Just bad execution. I don't know why these guys think that these things are going to work in these areas where it's completely not appropriate. But supposedly they were trying to have electric buses, read EVs, electric vehicles, in all places, the Northeast. And I'm not just talking a little bit Northeast. I'm talking Vermont. Okay, if you guys know that area, and I've been to Maine a few times, I've obviously been to Canada a few times, Connecticut, I haven't been to all the northeastern states, but I've been by them. I've been by them a few times on a cruise ship. But Vermont, they try to have electric vehicle buses in Vermont. Okay, there's really only 2 seasons up in the Northeast, okay? Trust me, in that area of New England, there's 2 seasons. You have green, where it's nice, and then you have wintertime where it's white. Pick one. You're either going to be there when it's green or when it's white. And when it's white, they're not kidding. They mean it's really, really wintertime. So anyway, they have the cold, they have the snow, they have extreme periods of sustained cold temperatures. So they've just found out in all their infinite wisdom that EV, electric vehicle buses, don't contend well with winter cold. And oh yeah, there's also secondarily a fire hazard. This coming in from Breitbart.com. Green Mountain Transit in Vermont is experiencing significant difficulties with its electric bus fleet this winter as the vehicles cannot charge in temperatures below 41 degrees. That's like refrigerator temperatures. Compounded by a battery recall that prevents indoor charging due to a fire hazard. So you can't charge it outside because it's too cold, and you can't charge it inside because, oh yeah, it might just light off. You got to be kidding me, folks. Who's the genius that came up with this one? Who is the genius that came up with this one? Wow. I mean, this one is, it's truly just, Yeah, your biscuits are burning. Wow. Cannot do it justice, folks. That one to me is just blanking phenomenally short-sighted on their part. How do you even come up with that kind of stuff? All right, folks, I'm going to break up on this one. You guys hung out with me for the hour, so you get a gold star for attendance. I thank you so much for hanging out with me on the Tuesday because you have many other things to do. You decided to hang out with me. I appreciate your kind attendance. I will catch you guys the week after. I think the week after. All right, so I'm going to break up on this one, folks. Eco Kick Ring is always, you know what, you love it. I will see you guys 2 weeks probably. And we'll move out from there, move out smartly, good stuff like that there. Have a good time. Have a, fortuitous good stuff. You know, the usual things. Do well, be happy, good stuff like that there. I will see you then and have a good 2 weeks. See you guys. Where's the button? Oh, where's the button now? Oh, I can't find the button. Ow. Oh, they moved the button. Oh, they moved the button. All right, I'll see you guys.